So Marc, you know, this is such a pleasure to be here at Sacred Springs Farm. It's just an amazing place here in Rappahannock with these beautiful horses. I know you are a well-known breeder of Lusitanos, and I am very unfamiliar actually with the Lusitano. Tell me a little bit about this breed and what makes this breed a passion for you personally.
Right. There are four breeds of barrel horses, the Andalusian, the Lusitano, that were very, very similar, and the Frisian and the Lusitano. You're not being interviewed here. I like very much.
He is.
Yeah, I like very much the Andalusian Lusitano type, and I like very much the way the Portuguese control their breeding program. The Roman name of for Portugal is Lusitania, hence the name of the breed Lusitano.
Oh, okay.
Until the 60s, the Andalusian and the Lusitano were the same horses. It's in the 60s that the Spanish and
in
the Portuguese.
In the 1600s?
No. 1960.
Oh, in 1960.
The Portuguese and the Spanish separated their stud book. Some say that the Spanish stopped bullfighting from a horse. For the Portuguese, that's their national sport, so they wanted to continue to breed the Lusitanos for that purpose. Portuguese want to have the best horses, and they took control of their breeding program.
And the Lusitanos were originally used?
Military,
for cavalry.
And you're probably familiar with the big battles between the Arabian horses and the Spanish horses.
And my understanding is dressage actually stems from military.
The dressage was all about getting out of trouble on the battlefield. You know, getting your horse to pirouette, get away from the enemy,
stepping
dodge the
over
enemy.
Dead bodies.
Exactly. Sorry to take some glory out of it, but you know, it was very practical. And, people attribute some of their of the victories of the military to these horses. You know,
particularly the Lusitanos?
At the time, the Iberian horse.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, but they're very talented. Actually, all my horses participate in a training program that consists of dressage work, trail riding, jumping, playing in a round pen, groundwork. We have one horse, a son of him, actually Vicuri, who is the most socially engaged horse I've ever seen. And I know I can train that horse anything. I think he needs to be challenged, so he needs to be able to learn and hopefully be part of a show like Cavaglia.
I think some of us may know Cirque du Soleil, but there's also an amazing program called Cavaglia, and the founders are passionate about this particular breed, and in fact have many Lusitanos in their show. And I understand one of them is actually coming out shortly to look at one of your Lusitanos as a possibility for them to use, because they have an amazing personality. They're just so alive and so vibrant, and are extremely simple to train, I understand.
Yeah. What, you know, it's all about, for me, the riding of a horse, it's all about building a relationship with the horse, which is what makes Nicola so gifted, because you saw her ride this horse. They're really working together very well.
Absolutely, it's like music, it's like a dance.
And to build that relationship, I think, to me, the groundwork is essential. So we never do enough of groundwork. And I like to play with my horses and this guy, and we have that relationship, and that makes the work, the dressage work, so much more gratifying for both. I suppose. Playing is probably the best word for it. It's not at all the traditional round pen work where you would launch your horse with a launch and a whip. What I'm trying to do is establish a language with the horse. And of course it's mostly a body language, even though I do use my voice occasionally. It's something that I create with each horse. And what I'm doing with Othello might differ from what I'm doing with another horse in terms of the language I'm using. The foundation of that language is always energy. And what I do with him when I play is that I switch my energy from the energy of a predator, like I'm chasing my prey. And as you saw, you respond to that very, very immediately. It's almost a reflex. And sometimes I flip that energy and I attract him, I pull him towards me. And that's what you saw, where all of a sudden he stopped being concerned at all by being chased, and on the contrary would come to me and kiss me and cuddle with me. Immediately I can switch back to that other type of energy, and immediately he turns around and he goes away, runs away from me. It brings the very best out of a horse in terms of potential for choreography. The two things that you can do in a round pen. One thing is establish a relationship with the horse, which then pays back enormously once you start riding a horse. And every time I do encounter a little problem with the horse, riding the horse, I would go back to the round pen and work again on that relationship. Because something went wrong somewhere, we start to misunderstand each other, and we recreate that relationship in the round pen. It's much harder to correct a horse and get in the mind of the horse if you're sitting on his back. It's much easier when you're eye to eye, both standing on the ground. And I can get movement out of a horse in the round pen, and that tells me he can do it. And when I work in the arena, I can try to bring that up again. So that's why we're doing that work. Plus, it's a lot of fun to do. For me, there's nothing more gratifying than, riding my own horses for myself. I don't need judges to, evaluate what I'm doing. It's not my not my job. It's a hobby. It's my wife Alaina, partner in business and partner on the farm. We own a consulting firm, and we do leadership consulting. And recently, we wrote a book called The Purpose-Linked Organization. We also run occasionally seminars on the farm with executives from a variety of companies.
Our work is grounded in a framework of the notion of purpose and passion. We see individuals disconnected all the time between what they intend and what the actual impact is in the organization on people. Part of what we try to help them understand is that there's an intent that you set mentally, there's an intent that you set with your physical direction and the way in which you do things, but there's also an intent that you set energetically, using the work that Marc does in the round pen with the horses as a model for them to understand.
In the corporate environment, you've got a lot of pretending going on. And people often hesitate to step out from behind themselves. The relationship we establish with horses is a relationship of predator to prey. Their survival depends on their ability to read your intent. So if you want to work with a horse, approach a horse, you have to be extremely anchored and extremely clear and transparent about your intent, because if you try to fool them, it's not going to work.
We will take individuals, some of whom have never worked with horses before. He helps them understand how to move that energy, and then he steps out of the picture and lets them engage in that relationship with the horse, and they really see the full impact of what they're capable of doing and of the positive impact it can have on the horse, and we hope that they take that back and use it to engage in positive impact on the people in their organization. Passion is really the outward manifestation of the deeper internal purpose that we carry. So we've developed 10 archetypes of passions. They have certain strengths that they can leverage, certain vulnerabilities that they need to watch out for, and they learn a lot about how one passion style that you might carry or archetype that you might carry interacts with the archetypes of other people on your team. One of the archetypes of passion that we describe in the book is the passion archetype that we call the healer. And the horse is actually, there were a totem animal for that archetype, the quintessential healer, because ultimately they really want to connect with you in that healing and loving way. So, great model for this work.
Not all horse owners are as fortunate as Wilbur to have a talking horse. But with some knowledge of the animal and desire to understand the language of the horse, it is very possible to carry on a very compelling conversation with a horse.